For Tuesday, May 16th at 7:30 p.m. in the Redmond City Hall Council chambers. I will start with roll call. Council President Forsyth.
Here.
Council Vice President Kritzer.
Here.
Council Member Stewart.
Here.
Council Member Carson.
Here.
Council Member Anderson. Council Member Fields.
Here.
Council Member Khan.
Anderson's here.
Here.
And Councilmember Anderson. Thank you all. I will start this evening with a proclamation for Public Works Week. Whereas the City of Redmond Public Works Department designs, builds, maintains, and manages essential infrastructure and natural systems which are vital to a sustainable and resilient community, and whereas this infrastructure includes the drinking water supply and distribution system, wastewater collection, stormwater drainage, streets, sidewalks, and pathways, traffic signals and street lighting, solid waste management, construction of all city infrastructure and buildings, and protection of the natural systems such as streams and wetlands that residents value, and whereas services, facilities, and infrastructure could not be provided for public use without the dedicated efforts of public work professionals, including maintenance and operations professionals, inspectors, engineers, scientists, and administrators, and managers at all levels. And whereas it is in the public interest for residents, businesses, and civic leaders to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of public works and associated programs that form the backbone of our community. And whereas the year 2023 marks the 63rd annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association. And now, therefore, I, Angela Burney, Mayor of the City of Redmond, Washington, do hereby proclaim May 21st through 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week. And I would like to present this to our Public Works Director, Aaron Burt, and he's going to say a few words. And I think we have some of our staff up. We'd love to get your picture with us.
The management team up here.
Let's have some up here. Let everybody, and then some down here. Those shorter people.
Andy even got a haircut, so that's pretty exciting. Come on over, everybody.
You can sit. You can sit. That's the back. Sit. And back. There you go. I think I got it. Aaron, scoot over a little bit that way. You got it. Ready? Set. 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. Perfect, thank you.
And would you like to say a few words, Mr. Burt?
I would.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor Burney, Council, thank you for this proclamation. And most importantly, I'd like to thank the members of the Public Works leadership and management team who are here to represent the 135 fine men and women who work in the Public Works Department that provide the services to this city day in and day out. Your focus, dedication, and commitment to the citizens of Redmond and the work that often goes unseen is critical to make this community the livable place it is. So this is a proclamation for Public Works Week, but it's also a real thank you to each and every one of you for the work you do. So thank you for that. And then, Mayor Burney and council members, I do have a small token of appreciation for each of you that I can hand out when I walk over there. What I'd like to present to you is our brand new City of Redmond Public Works Challenge coin. It's a symbol of excellence that we want to begin to provide to our employees, to our partners, to those individuals that help us be successful day in and day out. And your support through the budget, your engagement with us as a department, help us be successful. So I'll pass these around, and thank you so much. You bet. Thanks, everybody.
Try it again. Can you hear me out there? Nope. Off is on? That's working now? Someday they'll work right. The next item on the agenda is items from the audience. Speakers have 4 minutes to address the council. Council members generally will not respond to comments or questions directly at the meeting. Members of the public are welcome to email the council anytime at mayorcouncil@redmond.gov. I have the sign-in sheet for members of the public to speak tonight. Thank you. And when I read your name, you will come up to the podium, have 4 minutes to address the council. The views stated by members of the public do not represent the opinion of the city of Redmond. As a reminder, RCW 42.17a.555 prohibits any public comment during the council meeting in support or opposition of ballot measures or candidates. So I usually call the first 4 names, and so you know when you're up next. So we'll start with Fernando MC, then Jenny Craswell, then Karen Tennyson, and then David Morton. You may begin.
Hello, my name is Fernando, and I'm a volunteer on the City of Redmond Salary Commission. I hope to provide an abbreviated timeline of my experience to highlight some concerns with the behavior of mayor and staff. I was sworn in as a volunteer commissioner about 70 days ago, on March 7th. We held our first meeting of the Salary Commission on March 9th, and I started to ask staff for basic information surrounding the nature of council member work. The mayor and HR Director Laird told us that the council can only legally be considered quarter time, and we should not be considering any salaries that would correspond with any other allocation of time worked. She also advocated strongly that our commission not be considering raising salaries substantially. After this, I reviewed the evidence of the Salary Commission process in Bellingham, Kent, and other cities, and saw no similar restrictions around quarter time. So from March 13th to April 10th, I requested written statement signed by the city attorney clarifying the limits communicated to the commission from staff and the mayor. I requested this repeatedly on at least 5 separate occasions, and will include attachments of that timeline. During a future study session of the council, I got my answer. Quote, there is no indication of the number of hours that the council is required to work, end quote. And the 15-hour amount was, quote, kind of arrived at, end quote, by a former HR director. On March 23rd, I asked Director Laird if her insistence that our commission not raise the salary was due to any concern that positions at the City of Redmond would be eliminated given the commission's decisions. I was told no, but a major concern was that staff unions might ask for more money if council's salary increased. On April 6th, Director Laird reversed course and said that for any substantial increase to council's salary, city staff would be fired or laid off in order to accommodate that change. Out of concern, our commission requested additional financial information to clarify the likelihood of this occurrence, given the city's healthy multi-million-dollar budgetary surplus. The next week, on an April 11th council study session, Director Laird clarified that the mayor has the exclusive authority in the city to fire city employees. Director Laird also proposed the salary for the mayor be increased from $145,000 to over $215,000. No mention of possible layoffs or firings was made during that discussion that I'm aware of. This contrasts the commission meetings I attended on March 23rd and again on April 6th, where Director Laird strongly advocated for not raising the salary of council and implying that efforts to do so would be met automatically with a referendum and layoffs of the city staff. Then, on April 14th, staff canceled our April 20th scheduled meeting, quote, based on the potential direction the commission is headed and other budgetary concerns. On April 20th and April 24th, I asked for a makeup meeting to be scheduled and was told no. On April 28th, staff canceled our May 4th meeting for the same budget impact reason and a new reason that, quote, not all the commissioners have completed their OPMA training requirements. The training, which I have completed, which is required within 90 days from appointment, is due in June. Why this new requirement was only now brought to us is baffling given the preceding 3 meetings we had without issue. On May 1st, Director Laird said, quote, city leadership made the decision to cancel the May 4th meeting, end quote. From May 2nd to the 4th, I suggested to staff that we do the training at our next meeting to resolve their concerns. On May 7th, the Salary Commission chair called a meeting for May 9th. On May 9th, Director Laird says, quote, the mayor has indicated that she will not authorize a special meeting, citing the OPMA requirements. As of today, the staff and mayor have blocked our efforts to hold a meeting. Because of this, I'm submitting my comments as a written request for a special meeting on May 18th at 7 p.m. to proceed with our business. I ask other commissioners to sign on to this request in order to complete the formal requirements under RCW 4230-080 for a special meeting. If the mayor and staff refuse to announce our special meeting in a way that complies with the OPMA, I will personally investigate a remedy under RCW 4230-130 to seek compliance. I ask that the council review the actions taken by the mayor and staff and take any action necessary to prevent this experience, and it truly is a baffling one, occurring for future commissioners. Thank you for your time, and I would be happy to provide follow-up information as requested through the city clerk or someone else, because I am currently not having any discussions with council members, so given that potential conflict of interest. So thank you for your time, and I'll submit written comments to the city clerk, which I believe I already have. Thank you.
Next, we have Jenny Craswell, Karen Tennyson, David Morton, and Alex Zimmerman.
Good evening, Mayor Burney, council members, and staff. My name is Jenny Craswell. I'm CEO of Leadership Eastside.
And I am Lynn Janelle, Chief Advancement and Engagement Officer at Leadership Eastside.
Leadership Eastside was founded in 2005 by prominent Eastside leaders such as yourself. Former Redmond Mayor Doreen Marshoni was on our founding board. Our mission then and now is to promote connections, develop and enrich leaders, and act as a catalyst for communities to address important issues and meet the challenges of a diverse and dynamic region. Redmond has supported our work since the beginning, both in funding and sending students through our programs. We are here to thank you for your longtime partnership with Leadership Eastside.
We're proud to report that more than 85 Redmond residents have completed our adaptive community leadership and 4-day executive insight programs. Included are Mayor Bernie, former Mayor John Marchioni, Planning Director Carol Helland, Human Services Manager Brooke Buckingham, Kalika Curry, Executive Director of Eastside Pathways, Together Center's Board and Capital Campaign Lead Karen Duvall, our own Leadership Eastside CEO Jenny Craswell, along with dozens of City of Redmond employees, corporate and community leaders. Last Thursday, on May 11th, we joyfully added to this list Redmond City Council member Vanessa Kritzer and Redmond Fire Chief Adrian Shepard when they graduated with the Adaptive Community Leadership Class of 2023. When you add in those who work elsewhere in the city, as well as those impacted by participants, the reach of your support is unbounded. Our graduates are connecting across corporate, nonprofit, government, and community to address the issues we face, engage multiple voices and opinions, and work toward collaborative solutions for the good of the greater Eastside region. This September, we will welcome Deputy Director of Planning and Community Development, Seraphy Allen, and EMS Division Chief Jim Whitney. We are so grateful for the Redmond staff and leadership who have faithfully referred candidates to our programs and partnered with us to support leadership for the greater good.
We wanted to join you tonight to share our appreciation of the City of Redmond and your support, which positively impacts the entire Eastside region. Thank you, and we look forward to the important work we will do together in the future.
Next, we have Karen Tennyson, David Morton, Alex Zimmerman, and Linda Seltzer.
Mayor Bernie and council members, my name is Karen Tennyson, and I am the chair of the Salary Commission. There's been a lot of maligning of our commission without anyone really understanding. To date, we've never issued a decision or proposal. We've had many discussions and have floated many ideas, but we have formalized none. To be publicly chastised by a former city council member and called ludicrous for thinking out loud is grossly unfair. We are doing our job and would like to get on with the process. Staff canceled all of our meetings for April and May without explanation. Later, they informed us it was because they felt that there was a request for an excessive amount of data. They're now asking for a meeting on June 9th. This is after a month plus of silence without once reaching out to the commissioners to discuss or explain their reasoning. This has been incredibly rude and shows little or no respect for the committee members who, need I remind you, are all volunteers. We recognize that a council that reflects the many faces of Redmond will bring more diverse viewpoints and perspectives. This will be a plus for Redmond, and hopefully our community will reach a time when citizens who meet the requirement and have a desire for service can run for council and bring a fresh look and their skills to the community. Our goal as the Salary Commission is to reach a decision that is fair for all council members, and it will hopefully encourage the citizens of Redmond to consider a run for the council. Thank you.
Next, we have David Morton, Alex Zimmerman, Linda Seltzer, and David Haynes.
May I begin? Good evening, esteemed council members and honorable mayor. I'm David Morton. What are some of the most important challenges and issues facing Redmond, and what are some potential solutions? Firstly, the rapid growth of Redmond has led to increased traffic congestion, which poses a significant challenge for drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists. To address this issue, the city has invested in improved public transit options such as light rail, which will provide an affordable and efficient alternative to driving. Additionally, the city could prioritize the development of pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure, such as safe and accessible sidewalks, bike lanes, and pedestrian crossings. These investments in sustainable transportation options would not only reduce traffic congestion, but also improve air quality and public health. Secondly, the rising cost of housing in Redmond has made it increasingly difficult for many people to find affordable homes. The city has addressed this issue by implementing zoning changes that promote affordable housing developments, creating incentives for developers to build affordable housing units, partnering with nonprofits to provide affordable housing subsidies, and adopting tenant protections. The city could also consider rent stabilization measures to prevent displacement of vulnerable residents due to skyrocketing rental costs. Thirdly, like many cities across the country, Redmond is facing the challenge of homelessness. To address this issue, the city has invested in supportive housing programs that provide not only shelter, but also the services and resources needed to help individuals and families get back on their feet. Additionally, the city could work to address the root causes of homelessness, such as mental illness, substance abuse, and joblessness, by partnering with healthcare providers and job training programs. Fourthly, climate change poses a significant threat to the city of Redmond and the wider region. The city could take action by implementing policies that promote renewable energy, such as solar and wind power, and by investing in energy-efficient buildings and transportation systems. The city could implement building codes that require energy-efficient building practices, such as installing insulation, energy-efficient windows, and heating and cooling systems. The installation of solar panels on public buildings, for example, would be a step in the right direction. The city could also promote sustainable practices such as recycling, waste reduction, and composting to reduce its carbon footprint, conserve natural resources, and reduce the amount of waste that ends up in landfills. And the city could invest in environmental education programs that promote awareness and understanding of sustainability issues among residents, businesses, and community organizations. Finally, the city could work to promote equity and social justice by addressing disparities in access to resources and opportunities among different communities. This could be achieved through policies that promote economic development and job creation in underserved areas, as well as initiatives that promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. In conclusion, the challenges and issues facing Redmond are complex and multifaceted, but by working together, Redmond can develop and implement effective solutions. I urge the City Council to consider these proposals and to continue to prioritize the well-being and prosperity of all residents of Redmond. Thank you.
Next, we have Alex Zimmerman, then Linda Seltzer, then David Haynes.
Зі Хайл, Майдорі Круг, Edem Nazi Gestapo fascist from Animal Farm. My name is Alex Zimmerman. Guys, situation what is we have right now, very critical, and I explained to you before, and I will repeat again and again. Bellevue right now have a white people who's minority. You understand about it, talking? It's very critical for all East Sides. I live here more than 35 years, and I stay in politica every day for all my life. So situation so critical, you know what it means, will be reflect everything what is we have. It will be totally destroy East Coast. You know what it means? Mesley Island, Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland. I love this. I live this for many years. For city, what is my favor? So what is happening right now is a Holocaust and genocide. You know what it means? I know what it means, Holocaust. 3 generations of my family dead in Holocaust. But situation critical. Why? Because council in Bellevue make decision what is absolutely critical. They will bring Amazon, who will bring 30,000 people from jungle. You understand about it talking? So this situation will be worse and worse and worse. And what is we can do? Only one chance, change council totally in all these 4 cities. It's only one chance what is east side can be surviving. You understand about it talking? This 30,000 people what has come with Amazon from jungle, it is similar what has happened almost 30 years ago with Microsoft, who bring 50,000 people. It totally destroyed Bellevue in reaction in all east side. So I right now speak to this idiot, what is I call idiot and happy cow. Stop vote for Democrat. They make us life miserable. You understand about it talking? We need to stop and doing this, or every east side will be nightmare. I probably cannot live for another 5 years, but what is happening now is a critical. I speak right now, it's a nightmare. 85% people vote for Democrat. It's exactly same percentage what is vote for Adolf Hitler, German Nazi, in Gestapo in Germany in 1939. You understand about your talking? I speak to everybody, stand up. It's not about left, right, up and down. It's about survive is size. Because when I come 35 years ago, ever 30 years ago, ever 20 years ago, it's nice, beautiful location. And now we choose this council in all 4 cities, all Democrat who destroy us life totally. Need to be absolutely idiot, don't understand this. So please, stand up, America. Stop and vote for Democrat who destroy us fundamentally. It is very important because it's not small point. It's a fundamental change. You understand about you talking? Amazon 30,000 is traffic will be huge, its rent will be huge, and everything will be stopping totally what is America about for 250 years. So I demand what is people start thinking because go for election now in doing something what is very critical and very important. Don't elect Democrat. Start survive. You understand about talking? Stop and acting like a cow, like a happy cow. Stand up, America. This is very important. Stand up, America. Thank you very much.
Next is Linda Seltzer, and then David Haynes.
Good evening. Yesterday, can you hear me okay?
Can you pull the mic down a little bit, Missy?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yesterday from 5:30 a.m. until 12:30 p.m., there was an electrical power outage across the street from my apartment building at the construction site. The PSE notification reported that the cause was either a bird or an animal. So it's really necessary for the city to investigate this and find out why there was exactly what happened, why there was such a vulnerability in the city's power grid that a bird or an animal could have taken out the power for several square block radius with at least 300 people. And my understanding is that it extended even further than their map showed, and it went even across 164th Avenue into the other senior citizen building. And it's no coincidence that this vulnerability in the power grid happened in the area where there's my senior apartment complex, King County Public Housing, the senior apartment complex on 169th and 168th. And my understanding is that this went even into across 164th Avenue to the other complex. And then we need to find out how to actually achieve a power grid that actually works and doesn't go down like this. And this, especially like due to a bird or an animal. And there are no large animals anymore. I mean, we don't have any bobcats in the neighborhood anymore. We don't have deer anymore. So this would have been like a squirrel or a bird. Okay, the second comment that I'm making is about an item I saw on the agenda tonight which shocked me, which is a proposed expenditure of $842,000 on audiovisual equipment. And this to me seems like Hollywood movie kind of money and not city government kind of money. Steve Fields, I hope you're hearing this. Audio engineering was my field, audio signal processing was my field of engineering before I retired, so I'm speaking about this with some professional background. There's not enough money to even have maker software for people to go into the public library and do math with MATLAB and to do any kind of audio-visual production, you know, just for local people to go in. But now they want to spend $842,000 of city money on this upgrade. I mean, a group of students from Lake Washington Institute of Technology could put this together as a school project for a much cheaper price. Let's see. Okay, I think the city should just come back with a more formal proposal for how to achieve, you know, what is really needed in audiovisual and how to do this in a way that's frugal and reasonably priced. And also just think about the kind of money that this $849,000, if that were spent on emergency rent. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next is David Haynes.
Thank you, David Haynes, Overlake. Racist, woke, perverted misinterpretations of diversity, equity, inclusion that prioritizes hiring and who to help based on skin color and orientation instead of content of character is evil, racist, two-faced, un-American, and a sacrilege to the namesake of this county, Martin Luther King Jr. And it's part of the main reason why the public safety crisis and the homeless crisis have been exacerbated with a society of ours that is imploding before our eyes. And a lot of it is due to the George Soros open society operatives within representative government, city staff, the judicial system, and I hate to say it, some of the racist, woke, miseducated police chiefs throughout this nation who got hiring based on a misinterpretation of how you shut down evil criminals in the neighborhood by purposely running interference for low-level drug pushers. And I want to know why the police chief is lobbying the prosecutor to misinterpret what the constitutional law of crime fighting says about exempting drug pushers from jail. Blake had to do with a girl who had no idea she had drugs in a secret pocket. All these junkies running around with paraphernalia and committing crimes, they're all being exempted because they're drug addicts. But yet you're voluntarily allowing them to continue roaming around like a drunk driver, asking them to go sober, but never forcing them behind closed doors, either to a jail or some like trespass, like low security conscription for breaking their habit, and stop allowing big pharma to lobby for alternative drugs that just saturate them with methadone that lets them drool all over the bus. But when you have a homeless crisis that prioritizes repeat offending criminals, based on, like, if they're black and brown, they're going to be exempted from their content of their character being judged. And they're going to be prioritized for the housing and the services instead of an improved jail. Even if they were selling crack, meth, heroin, fentanyl, sex harassment, or trafficking, sometimes on a lower level. But yet an innocent homeless person throughout King County who has white skin is not vulnerable enough because they're considered white privilege. So innocent houseless people are being purposely denied while the cops conduct a war on the innocent homeless, while they come up with all these lawyeristic excuses while they're not going to shut down these evil drug pushers that keep supplying my neighborhood. And some, I think, are living in the Capella apartments at Astera Park. And there's a delivery of other drugs where all these people steal from Redmond, go over to the Walgreens in Bellevue across the street from 24th and wait for some driver to come through the prescription delivery drive-through, and they sell all this stuff that they stole, and then they get drugs. That's part of the shopping list is coming through to Target and all these Wall Street-owned companies that are being thieved. But our cops are focusing on kissing the Wall Street middleman donors' concerns about their inflated products instead of shutting down evil drug pushers in the neighborhood. I have to contend with meth heads and meth heads basically smoking right next to the propane gas tanks at the Safeway in Overlake every frickin' day sometimes. I tell the management, it turns out some of their employees have drug problems. They're telling me they cannot enforce the law because the inside of the store is their only responsibility. The cops keep saying that the law says that they're not allowed to enforce the citizens' rights to trespass somebody who's being threatened and poisoned and bothered on the public sidewalk because the corporate fascist manager has to implement a trespass, and the cops are sitting there on their ass, facing one direction with their SUV in the parking lot and one in the other direction, and they're just facing each other, chit-chatting, trying to boost their morale. They're not fighting crime at all. You're just making excuses so you can hang out in City Hall. And I'm pissed because, all right, 3.5 months ago, they harassed me and tried to point a gun at me because I was looking at the pictures of council trying to put a name with the face in the committee. And I don't understand why the cops coming in like this. He should be elsewhere fighting crime instead of hanging out in City Hall.
The clerk's office received no request to speak remotely. Items from the audience is now closed. Our next item of business is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any items to be pulled?
7.
Any other items to be pulled? Give me a moment. I need to read resolutions into the record. Consent item number 3, resolution number 1571, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Redmond, Washington, amending the fire department fee schedule originally adopted by resolution number 1073 and amended through resolutions number 1281, 1389, 1452, and 1536 in order to provide fees for permits associated with adoption of the 2021 Redmond Fire Code. Consent item number 4, ordinance number 3121, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, amending Redmond Municipal Code sections 1506 Fire Code to coordinate with the 2021 International Fire Code and subsequent state amendments. Consent item number 8, ordinance number 3122, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, to adopt revisions to RMC 13.16.050, supplemental water and sewer rates and charges, Section A, low-income disabled and low-income senior citizen credit, and amending ordinance 2321 to update the definition of disabled and establishing an effective date. And consent item number 10, resolution number 1572, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Redmond, Washington, declaring the City Council's intent to conduct a public hearing concerning the assumption of the rights, powers, functions, and obligations of the Redmond Transportation Benefit District, and setting the date, time, and place for said hearing. This is a roll call vote, starting with Council President Forsyth.
Aye.
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 And that passes 7-0. Item number 7 is AM number 23-060, award bid to Santana Trucking and Excavation, Inc. of Redmond, Washington, in the amount of $387,227 for the 90th Street Pond refurbishing project.
Move item number 7.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Council President Forsyth, you pulled this item?
I did. In my research for this and the memo, there was no prior touch, and as is our our standard practice. We see these items before they go on to consent, and in my research, digging through the documents, I also didn't see a prior touch, so I was just wondering if we could get a brief description. I don't have an issue with the item, I just wanted to hear a tiny bit more about it.
Director Burt, if you come up to the podium, that's probably the easiest place. And that we know that microphone works.
The 90th Street Pond refurbishment project has been a project that's been on the CIP, I want to say, for about the past 6 years. I do believe the last touch point was probably more than 2 years ago. It might not be reflected in the current documentation that you have, but this has been a ongoing project that has been a extreme challenge due to change in scope and change in budget. But this contract, or we're at a place right now that we're ready to get it finished. So it's probably buried in the historical files. We can go back and pull those up for you, council member, if you'd like, and bring it back before council at a later time, if that's your preference.
I'm good. I just wanted to hear a little bit more about it since in my brief digging and in the memo, there was no prior touch point stated.
Yeah.
So
Oversight. Sorry, I've been
No
gone
problem.
for 2 weeks, so that was probably on me.
thank you for the description.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Director Burt. Council Vice President?
Thank you, and I will just echo, I recognize that council put this on the docket to be something worked on in the past, but it is typically our practice, like per item that we're actually going to vote on, to see it in committee. So hopefully with items like this, we'll just get it in, probably planning and public works or something like that in the future before we see this. But thanks for pulling that, and I'm happy to support this.
Councilmember Fields?
Yes, also happy to support it, but I would like to know, get a reminder of how things get on consent. My understanding is that council expresses an opinion at some point that we're all good with it and is willing to go on consent. So curious how this got on consent. Who made that decision?
I can ask Director Burt to come back up.
I thought maybe you would know, Mayor.
No, generally speaking, when things come through on consent, it's because they've gone through the process of coming through committee. I'm going to guess because this one has been going on for so long that I guess I'll have Director Burt answer that.
Yeah, before you do, Bert, just to be clear, I understand that we may have talked about it 2 years ago. I'm fine with that. But I'm trying to understand our process. My understanding was that council, in fact, was because we are voting, and because we are voting in a collective body, meaning consent, that it's council that puts something on consent. You can request something to go on consent, but how in the world did this get on consent without council?
So unfortunately, I can't give you the full answer on that, Councilmember Fields. I was not present when this agenda was built, but it is something that we can go back and research for you if you'd like.
Great, I would. Thank you.
Council Vice President?
I will note for the listening public that typically every other week, the council president and I meet with the mayor and the COO to be able to review the agendas that are coming for the next week. And I don't remember seeing this item on that last discussion that we had, but if I missed it, then my apologies to the council as well, because I think that's usually our check of our place to say, is everything on the consent agenda, things that have been processed through committee or that will be processed by the time that we reach that next business meeting. So just gives you a little insight into the process. We typically do those checks, and I believe that's why the council president raised it, was because it seemed like a bit of an anomalous item.
Councilmember Anderson?
Just a quick note of appreciation. One of the things that I find really helpful in the memo is whether or not it's an item that's been approved in the budget. So technically, we kind of saw it before, but I'm okay with things going straight to consent when they're in the budget.
Councilmember Carson?
Well, when I saw this, I thought, oh, this is the Wayback Machine, because this thing is older than everybody but me on the council in terms of it, the first time it ever came to council. So it's had problems is probably a big understatement, but I'm glad to see that it's finally going to happen and that we're taking care of it. Thank you.
See no other comments. Thank you, Director Byrd. I will take a roll call vote, starting with Council President Forsyth.
Aye.
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 And that passes 7-0. Thank you, everybody. Next, we have no public hearings. We have no staff reports. We have an ombuds report for April. I'll go to Councilmember Kritzer if she has anything to follow up, and then Councilmember Fields for May.
I don't have anything at this moment. I will say there's a couple of emails that are still out there that I've been following up on with residents and tracking down some information from staff. So perhaps next business meeting, I'll give some updates on a few of those. Thanks.
Great, thanks. Councilmember Fields? Councilmember Fields, you're muted.
I know. I'm trying to find the button to press it. All right. Thank you. 1 second. So we had 4, maybe 5 items. We had somebody recently write into the city about a bike lane that needed to be cleaned up, and our public works people responded very quickly and are going to do a street sweeper, I believe, tomorrow, May 17th, to clean it up. So quick response and quick action. We received an appreciation from over our support in establishing Chinese Descent History Month, and look forward to working with our community in celebration events. There was a resident who wrote in about high school students parking in the neighborhood in front of mailboxes, sort of preventing mail to be delivered in an easy, efficient manner, and also leaving a lot of trash in the neighborhood. I asked that be looked into. And finally, we did receive a couple of emails on the Salary Commission, which we heard public testimony about earlier. One, in fact, was from a former council member referring to the commission as ludicrous. I responded saying, I don't know anything about any formal recommendations, in the same way that the 2 Salary Commission people had testified. And then we received another email earlier today, basically with the same sentiment, asking if people are crazy. So I don't think that we should be disparaging our volunteers. I think we should let them complete their work, and then we can deal with the ideas and the concepts and the decision and stay away from diminishing people as part of their volunteer work on behalf of the city. That's it.
Thank you. Are there any other ombuds items? Council President.
Thank you. Earlier this month, I attended the Bike Everywhere breakfast and had some great conversations with some neighboring communities and groups about our efforts for bike lanes and bike safety. I also attended the community court and highly recommend everyone have an opportunity to do that on the Wednesday, and got to see some graduations there and have some conversations with the folks that graduated through that program. And it was incredibly powerful and moving. Our judge actually sent us all an invite, and I hope everyone will follow up and take the time to do that. It was really moving. And then I will save the others for committee reports. Thanks.
Thanks. Yes, Council President, Vice President, excuse me.
Yeah, I apologize. When I was asked before, I was thinking about what I responded to as ombuds, but I did want to share one exchange I had with a resident who reached out to me. Today, Council President Forsyth and I were able to participate in One Redmond's Coffee with Leaders, which was a really wonderful event, really great feedback, actually, from lots of different community members about what's going on, especially from a lot of our small businesses and about what they're facing and questions. It was a really great conversation, so thanks to One Redmond on that. I did get feedback from one community member who was concerned because the city advertised it, and it was an event that One Redmond had a ticketed price for, and they felt that it seemed like we were saying that you have to pay to talk to your council members, and I just told that resident, and I want to tell everyone out here on the record that you can talk to us anytime. Write me an email personally, write an email to us, council@redmond.gov, and we are always here to be able to sit down with you, talk with you one-on-one, completely for free. We're here to serve you, and I really enjoy talking with residents, so just wanted to share that out, and I hope that that messaging didn't confuse folks, and we'll make sure I talked with the communications team, and I think it'll be clear going forward, and that hopefully we'll also continue to do good events with One Redmond and be able to engage in those spaces as featured speakers, but also make sure that people know we are going to have lots of opportunities to be able to connect with your council members, and you can do it anytime. Thanks.
Thanks. Council President?
I just wanted to add on to that because I'd saved it for my next section, but since you brought it up, yes, and also had some great conversations. Didn't realize that we had an equestrian disability location here in Redmond, and had an opportunity to talk with those folks and potentially go out and visit with them. So that'll be very cool. Spoke with the library staff, and we will be looking to gather council member reading list for July. So if you have recommendations, they're gonna entertain having a council recommendations list at the library. So that was one fun thing that came out of the conversations this morning. And I believe the next Coffee with Leadership will be Councilmember Carson and Councilmember Stewart sometime this fall.
And I hope the reading list isn't part of our agenda that we recommend. Okay, just making sure.
Thank you. Councilmember Carson?
Thank you. I had a resident reach out to me, I think because I'm the Park and Environmental Sustainability Chair, and regarding shelter reservations at Grass Lawn. So I'm kind of actively working through that, and I've already talked to our Parks Director about that in case I need some help on answering it. But it's one of those things where they want to reserve a time that we don't typically reserve. And so there's really no way to do it, given the cleaning requirements that we have for facilities. So we're kind of working through if it's a regular kind of event, then that's a different kind of question. So, but stay tuned.
Thank you very much. See no others. Are there any committee reports? Councilmember Anderson.
Earlier this month, I was at the Healthier Here Governing Board meeting. We had mostly governance items on that, but a couple of pieces of news. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so happy Mental Health Awareness Month, which provides a reminder that mental health is an essential part of health and well-being for every person, and a call to action for working to ensure those living with mental health challenges receive support and compassionate care. So there's some information here that they announced that their partner organization called Valley Cities is offering free mental health first aid training. I can send this information out to the council if you're interested, which trains people to help someone who's at risk of developing a mental health problem or who is going through a mental health crisis. So I will send that to the council. And then additionally, we recognized May 5th as National Day of Awareness and Action for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. That was a little bit ago, but if you wish to support, you can wear red clothing the next time you think about it in May. So thank you.
Thank you. Council Vice President, did you have a committee report?
I did. Thank you. I attended the Eastside Transportation Partnership meeting last week, and we had some interesting updates. One was on the SAFE initiative through Metro, and some of the work that they're doing to be able to address issues around inclusion and respect in transit and different transit issues. So and fair enforcement reform. So they've been doing some pretty interesting things around developing new terminal support teams, which will provide behavioral health peers at transit locations to support customers and transit employees. Also terminal ambassadors, which are going to be some light duty operators that are going to engage with customers and provide information at those places. And then some other work around on fare enforcement. They're doing a lot of outreach to communities as they think about what the next stage of that is to make sure they don't disproportionately impact folks that might be underserved and particularly reliant on that transit. So they're doing a co-design of a new fare enforcement program. So very interesting. And they shared a little bit about those new terminal ambassadors. And then I actually requested to add an item to the agenda just before that meeting. The news came out that Metro was going to be reducing quite a few routes. I think it was 20 routes across the region coming in the fall, which includes 2 routes that are in Redmond. And so we got to have an update from Metro on that. And I think it was helpful to understand that the routes that they're looking at reducing, a lot of them are already very, very unreliable right now. And part of the issue is that they don't have enough drivers to drive the buses. And so people are actually getting worse service. So part of what they want to do is improve service reliability and be able to kind of set up those better expectations and then build back. But I did ask some questions about how they're thinking about how they will build that back. And I think there's more to follow up on that. But I did want to flag for community members that routes 232, which is the Duval, Redmond, Bellevue route, and 268, Bear Creek, Seattle, are both going to be affected and suspended for once these service changes come into effect. And it sounds like they are currently figuring out how they're going to decide when to bring those back, and I think it's something that I shared with our Chief Policy Advisor, Amy Tsai, and had a little discussion on with some of our transportation staff of just making sure that they engage with cities on this, because I think they have been using past ridership data to decide on which routes to restore or cut. And it's difficult if we're trying to get more folks to be taking transit, but the transit's not available to be able to do that. And so I think the feedback was very well taken, and I plan to follow up with our county council members just to make sure they're aware of the desire from cities to be engaged in this conversation about how we look at building back that service so that we have great transit service across our region. So that's my thoughts on that. And it was a really interesting conversation, and I appreciate it was really hard choices for them to be able to make sure that great service is happening on our current metro system.
Thank you. Councilmember Khan.
Thank you so much. As I and Councilmember Fields are not present at the moment, we are in Denver, Colorado, attending the Smart Cities and the NACTO conference, the National Association of City Transportation Officials. And we're here with the amazing Vanjie Garcia and Seraphy Allen. And we're hearing and learning so many great ideas, a lot of inspiration throughout this week. And we're excited to share a lot of that to you all at the next Public Works Committee meeting. But yeah, a lot of our gears are turning, ideas coming up for our TMP and our local road safety plan, and getting inspiration for how to implement Vision Zero into specific policies and budget ideas. So really excited to share our learnings with you all when we come back. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Have safe travels. Council President.
Thank you. Just briefly, I will share that I attended the Deputy Mayor's SCA meeting on the 11th, and the whole discussion, the whole hour was consumed with Blake and the different cities and what they were doing in case the legislature did not do what they did today. So thankful that that passed today. And then I've lost my other thought, so that'll do.
Thank you. Any other committee reports? Councilmember Anderson?
We had a Public Safety and Human Services Committee meeting today. I just remembered that. Thank you for the reminder. You can watch it on RCTV. Thank you.
Thank you. I did not, I attend committees, but the one thing I wanted to share with the council and the community is that I was able to participate in the opening reception for America's Competitiveness Exchange reception last night at Chateau Saint-Michel. It's a mouthful. I spoke as well as Mayor Penny Sweet, Mayor Lynn Robinson, and Mayor Mike Millman from Woodinville. And it is a biannual trip that the U.S. puts on and travels every other year or twice a year. Economic development groups travel from the U.S. to countries throughout the Americas, and then other countries' economic development managers and statesmen and all kinds of people from their countries travel to the U.S. So we're very fortunate that Puget Sound Regional Council is hosting it this year. There are people from all the way from Canada down through Argentina, out to Barbados. Even some people from Europe are also joining the trip, and so they're looking at economic development. So it was wonderful to be able to show off our beautiful region with our lovely hot weather. And they're having a fantastic time, and they spent the day yesterday, started at in Seattle, went to University of Washington, went to Amazon, came to Microsoft, then ended up at the wineries up north, and then they're going to be going to Boeing, they're going to be going up to Marysville, they're going to be going out into Kitsap County as well, and down to Pierce County. So it's really an amazing opportunity to show off our region and all that we have going for us, and also learn from them and hopefully build relationships and partnerships with them. So it was an amazing event, very privileged to participate in that. So I'd like to share all that with you. Yes. See, I talked long enough for Council President to remember. Go ahead.
Yes. I had the opportunity and was invited to attend the House bill signing of 1747. If you don't know what that is the Housing Covenant Assistance Bill, which provides a loan, interest-free loan to BIPOC community members who have traditionally been excluded from the housing market. So very, very landmark legislation. Really great opportunity to attend that at the Northwest African American Museum. If you haven't seen that, check it out too. But it's really incredible legislation, and we are one of the first in the nation to have this sort of bill on our state legislation. So very exciting.
Thank you very much. Anything else tonight? All right, seeing none, there's no unfinished business, there's no new business. We do have an executive session to consider the selection of a site or the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase, RCW 42.30.1101B, for 20 minutes. And there might be action after the meeting. And per state law, executive session is closed to the public. So participants who are joining remotely, if you would log off of this meeting and log on to the other meeting on your calendar, and for council members in attendance, let's log out of this meeting and then we can come back when we're done. Thank you. And we are back from executive session. Is there a motion?
I move to authorize the Parks Director or her designee to negotiate a purchase price and sale agreement for the Hanscom property on the terms as discussed in executive session.
Second.
Excitement is palpable. It is moved by Council President Forsyth and seconded by Councilmember Anderson. The close third. Is there any discussion? This is a roll call vote, starting with Council President Forsyth.
Aye.
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 And that passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Thank you, Director, as well, for your input. And that concludes the business items for this meeting. If there's no objection, we are adjourned. Thank you.